He can cook a shoe and it'll taste delicious. You don't even have to bring your own, he says. And that's neat. It's Tom White. This is Teaching to the Test Pattern.
Hey, buddy, welcome to Teaching to the Test Pattern. I'm Tom White, your host, and I cannot describe how excited I am about today's show. If you're a fan of podcasts, this is a show for you. It's a guy that you may have heard of, probably not. It's a guy that you've probably seen his work. If you're into podcasts, if you're into comedy, you've seen some of his stuff. Halston Ray is his name, and he is the producer for Bert Kreischer and the Bertcast and Leeann Kreischer's Wife of the Party podcast. He also works with Ron Funches on his show. And super underrated, crazy talented guy, because he's doing a multicam shoot and a multi-layer, multi-channel audio podcast at the same time, edits them. We're talking not the 15-minute podcasts like I do. We're hours, 2, 3, 4-hour podcasts, and great content. And one thing, no matter what, it's going to sound great. Even now, and you'll hear this throughout, in the world of COVID-19, where everybody's doing Zoom meetings and Zoom shows, they're doing Zoom shows for podcasts, most of them, and it still sounds great. The level of professionalism is phenomenal, and I can't wait for you to hear both parts of this show. I could listen to him talk all day long, just because it's one of those things where he just has so much insight. A young guy who will tell you he's the luckiest guy in the world, and you'll hear that story. Just phenomenal. Couldn't do the show today without my friends at Amatrace, AMITRACE.com. They are the ones that keep me on the air with Teaching to the Test Pattern, and they can get you on the air for whatever you need. So go check them out. Listen, if you've got a dream for your program, definitely go check them out. Send them a message and say, hey, look, here's what I want to do. They're not going to just print off a one-sheeter and send it to you. They're going to send you what you asked for. So definitely go check them out. AMITRACE.com. Now listen to part 1 of my conversation with Halston Ray from Halston Ray Media, producer for the Bertcast, Wife of the Party, and Ron Funches' podcast.
Teaching to the Test Pattern.
If you would just introduce yourself, because what I've basically stolen my formula from you guys. A little bit of intro, sweeper, get into the content, and then I sweep out, outro, and a tag. So
boom, there you go. That's the format.
Yeah, no, like I said, I stole it from the best. So if you would just kind of introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do.
Hi, my name is Halston. I am a podcast producer. I have a media business, and I produce podcasts a week for 3 different people, clients, I guess you could say. And that entails mixing audio, video production, video editing, hours of uploading, hours of editing, recording, making clips, making intros, and all. It's a ton of stuff, kind of like an all-encompassing media job, it seems, because it's not just audio, it's also video. So you gotta kind of learn there is to know about like media, basically. So how'd you get started? I've always been interested in like media technical stuff, because as a kid, I worked at a church when I was 13, and it was just me and this older guy, and he kind of his job at the church, and setting up projectors and running video. I don't even remember the set. I remember, I mean, it's a full on like live production. So to switch between cameras, you had to pull up graphics on the screen, like during the worship, you had to switch the lyric screen and stuff like that. And I always was like super interested in that, and that as much as I was music. And so grew up and started to become a professional musician. I also was learning about video production and audio production, and I wanted to be able to record myself, have it sound professional and have it sound better than what I was getting from other producers. And that's how I got into that. And I fell into the podcasting world because I had a home studio. I was working on music, and I was listening to Bert's podcast, and he was like, really need a producer. And it made me go, that would be a really great job. I think I could do that. I mean, I know the basics on all that stuff, it seems. And I've got a home studio. I can edit, I can upload, I can do all that stuff. And I mean, mixing just people talking has gotta be easy. And it is. But I heard that, and so I put that in the back of my mind. And then a few months go by, and he had said where he lived, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I live across the street from him." I'm like, that is so crazy. If I ever run into him, tell him like I have a home studio. I've been recording music and becoming a really good audio engineer and mixer. And it took me about a month before I ran in. I would go on walks with my friend around the block, and one day he was out front, and I got a studio. I live across the street. You can call me over whenever. And he was like, oh, give me your number. And so that was like 2.5 years ago. And ever since then, I went from delivering pizzas to having my own media business. And it's been a crazy ride. It feels like a crazy ride. It feels like almost a dream because it kind of so strangely, I don't know, banging. I think my neighbors are hanging something on the wall.
So what I love about that story is I've heard it, and I don't remember the Bert you're talking about is Bert Kreischer, for those that don't know. And Bert is a comedian, podcaster. His wife's a podcaster. And you told that story. And one of the things that really struck me about you telling that story and hearing it in this context is just your passion for it. And one of the things that I can tell in our conversation prior to recording and in the stuff that I've seen is that, you said you are the luckiest person on earth. And I think that's a great way to look at kind of how you fell into this, doing the work and then just walking across the street one day.
Yeah. I mean, Bert said he's the luckiest person in the world, and I agree to an extent, but I don't know. Sorry. That's
been honestly during this times, that has been the most fun. I interviewed someone earlier, and their child just melts down in the background. Talked to a guy a week or so ago, and it was piano practice time for his daughter. So she's playing our background track while we're talking. That's been the fun part about doing this during the quarantine times is it's life.
Yeah. There's a lot of life happening around people's offices.
Yeah. I enjoy watching all the news blurbs and things where, the weatherman's out in his front yard and the dog walks by and whizzes on the tree or what have you. I back to what I was saying, I guess I have a huge for it.
And I never thought that I would be able to make a living at producing at such an early age. I was 20, ran into him, and I'm about to be 9 soon. And so I've been able to not work a day job for a little over 2 years now because of it. And that was the dream. That was the goal when you move to LA, you know, to be able to make money kind of doing what you love. And does not fly past me. I know that I am the lucky, but I'm really grateful for them. And I think gratitude is the key to happiness. And so, I mean, it makes me happy just to think about how grateful I am for this life that I have. And I can't help but feel like the luckiest person in the world every day.
I mean, it's when you found your passion in music and audio production, and then you get that job where, you know, it almost falls in your lap, and you get to do it every day. I mean, that is a great blessing. So pre-quarantine, before everything broke down, what was a normal day for you in terms of, you know, what you did for the shows and, you know, and then as your company?
So, I mean, honestly, quarantine has not changed my life much. I do spend most of my time editing here on this desk. But the only thing that's different is that I don't go to their houses anymore to record. We do everything just like this, which safe makes it easier, and we can put out more content. Bert is doing 3 podcasts a week now. And that's why my voice is tired, because I'm tired. You know what I mean? So, but we're able to put more content out for the people who need it, the people who are at home just bored out of their and need hours and hours of content. We're doing, and that's what's keeping on. I love providing that to people. You know what I mean? Especially during this time.
Teaching to the test pattern.
You know, one of the things that I picked up on the moment I connected with Halston is his passion for what he does and the idea of pushing out content that matters to people. And that's something that, you know, as an educator, I hope that you're thinking about as you prepare for whatever next year brings to you and your program. Thank you so much for downloading this episode. Make sure you check out part 2. It's available right now. And go to amitrace.com, AMITRACE.com. And if you have a dream, just ask them. Just send a message and say, hey, here's what I want to do. So just go check them out. I'm not going to sell you any more than that. AMITRACE.com. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day. And as always, go out and make some awesome.
Teaching to the test pattern.